We're made of liquid crystal with the ability to transmit, amplify, and store information. Our experiences, rather our reaction to our experiences, become a program storage system transferred via the fascia, an auditory and sensory communication system that connects all parts of us to each other and beyond. Some believe the brain and the eyes are filled with liquid crystal and is the programming element of who we are. Also, the third eye actually has the structure of an eye, which is filled with synovial fluid and actually has a lens pointing up towards the crown chakra. The overwhelming, critically important underlying structural philosophy of all these modalities that I'm going to be presenting in this series and written about in this book is that there is a morphogenic energy source that responds to the interplay of the psyche and the body. We're living in interesting times in that, again, after centuries, budding just in our time is an awakening to understanding how we are innately powerful beings. We need to reclaim ourselves, never again to diminish or to set aside the human potential in all realms. We are innately gifted with the ability to heal ourselves and one another. With the advent of what I call a new modality, credence must be given to the past. Nothing exists in a vacuum. One basic understanding that connects all of these methods is a comprehension that there's an innate, important, harmonious relationship with the psyche and the body. If it's a good connection, it's responsible for health and joy and happiness. If it's a dysfunctional connection, it's responsible for illness, depression, physical pain, and spiritual disillusion. The goal for this work is twofold: to remove the blocks, the imbalances, and underlying reasons from the past, and two, to understand that symptoms are there to teach us. If you learn the lesson and let it go, the symptom will leave. You need to just be grateful for the process, grateful for the illness. I know that sounds hard, but it's true. And then you can just let it go. I found the preponderance of energy work invariably addressed the removal of the impact from the past. However, designing the future was left to circumstance. Clients are left to fend for themselves at this wonderful point, ground zero. But having released themselves from addictions and bad habits, disease, chronically crippling relationships, dysfunctional jobs, etc., there was no way to re-educate, to explain the power that this new lease on life had. It didn't teach how to deal with stress, which took an immense process of retraining. Even though these healing modalities had incredible results, the transition was sometimes short-lived. An emotional trigger, environmental pressures, a repeated bad relationship blew the groundwork and caused a return to the same or similar low-level experience, a return to what you could call the old normal. I realized that people want, intellectually, a new normal. The trouble was that if normal from the past was composed of abuse and affliction, the sense of normal, even though painful, was more comfortable than the sense of the new normal. The monumental energy it took to design a new life, find new friends, change family influences, get a new job, and completely create a different expectation was just too hard. It's not comfortable because it's full of questions like, do I deserve? Am I worthy? Can I sustain this act? As though it was a new wallpaper. Mired in the progress to where the pain of familiarity became better than the uncertainty of functioning at high frequencies and being expected to sustain it, there was a valid issue that had to be addressed. Even though the reasons for having a life of pain and addiction were treated and removed, restructuring one's thinking, feeling, and believing the truth in the statement, I deserve a life without these hamperings, I knew I had to create something new. I was challenged. So many of the healing modalities that I studied and that I'm going to go into in subsequent videos stem from a similar pattern known in the medical community as a diagnostic tree. One starts generally asking yes-no questions that lead to the next question, creating a finer detail. After several steps, finally one is able to pinpoint and then label the disease or imbalance. These steps start at the trunk of the tree and went down farther and farther into the roots of this diagnostic process in the hopes of discovering the ailment, the label for the ailment. Yet I felt the gaps and voids with such compassion that I knew I had to venture out onto the edge of something more uplifting, something of a higher frequency, something more efficient. I soon realized that what was missing was not just the next root of the tree leading to a label of a disease. There needed to be an entirely different flip side explored. I had to find the branches. My concept was born. One day I was thinking how to launch this, how could I create this, and I was walking across the London's Charing Cross footbridge. This bridge was designed and constructed with some pretty serious obstacles. First, the ground support had to withstand the tidal changes of the Thames, which is pretty intense, but not go deeper than the underground tube tunnel of the Bakerloo line. When built, it came within 50 feet, which meant it had very shallow support. Next to the bridge was an old Victorian Iron Age bridge called Hungerford Bridge. It's heavy and dark and rusted, yet it's so solid in its ability to withstand the tidal currents, the occasional barge crash. It was constantly being traveled across with freight cars and a myriad of other challenges that it was exposed to over the centuries. The builders of the new bridge found the solution. They created metal appendages that reached out and stabilized onto the posts of the old Victorian bridge, as though the new and challenging design, which is quite beautiful, needed the grafting support from the past. The two bridges now stand side by side, connected by a desire for them both to remain in service for the people. Just like grace, my purpose is to instigate a change where this healing process also gives credence to the past, and yet becomes so normal that it will become a household name, where every mother can heal her child, where a pet owner can open the blocks that keep their animals sickly, where the aged can undo the traumas of their lifetime by focusing on the future. In the same way as the bridges stand together, there is power in GRACED in how it stands on its own but gives credence to the wise and knowledgeable past that has laid the groundwork for this reaching to the stars. The sexton pointed the way in the past. Today, we use GPS coordinates to set our sights on the future. Grace tells us what's needed, what to remove to get there, and accesses the natural flow of energy, intention, and grace